and we're back with another episode of Before You Buy. We'll give you some straight-up gameplay and our first impressions on the latest games releasing as usual. It's me, Pilot360, and today we're talking about Far Cry 6. This is the newest Far Cry game. After taking 2 years off, New Dawn was from 2019 and that was a spin-off of Far Cry 5 from 2008. So in this, it's a big new world, new setting, new story. This time based off of like a modern-day revolution in a fake Cuba on an island nation called Jada. This is very much more Far Cry. It's a big, huge map, a bunch of things, and an iconic bad guy. We should address this right off the bat. Like this doesn't reinvent the Far Cry formula, and even though it doesn't, it's a really fun new one, thanks to a couple of things that really emphasize the craziness. Like if you're already over these games or you're burnt down on them, this one might not change your mind. But if you can't get enough of this stuff, or maybe you skipped a Far Cry, or you'll likely have some fun here, and it did end up kind of warming my cynical heart. Now the housekeeping. This game is out October 7th, and we've been playing a review copy of the game for a few days now. And just so you know, this footage was captured on in PlayStation 5, and it's spoiler-free. Everything you might see cutscene-wise is like from the first hour of the game. So right off the bat, stop me if you've heard this one. You start out the game on a smaller island, kind of like Intro Tutorial Island that you'll spend like 2 or so hours. You'll learn the basics, you'll get the gist of the plot, and then you set out on your adventure. You are playing as Danny and you get to choose between a male or female version of the character, and both are fully voice acted. Interesting and pretty cool characters. You get to see and hear both in cutscenes and in third place, up sections of the game. You get wrapped up in a revolution and abandoned guerrilla fighters who aim to take down the evil fascist dictator Antón Castillo and his brutal regime. Now Antón Castillo is played by Giancarlo Esposito, so you might know him as the bad guy from Everything. And we once again get an iconic villain here. And once again, you'll probably wish you see more of him throughout the game. But he's a little generic at times, but I warmed up to him after a while. There's some intensity to his focus on like creating the perfect place in such a brutal way. But the dynamic with his young son he has at his side is pretty interesting. It's a nice little shake-up from the usual solo, big, bad type thing they usually do now. Believe it or not, having a voice-to-player character that you can actually see stole the show here for me, Danny has. And a little crazy in the right kind of far highway. And you can make him or her look pretty damn cool to Danny. And some of the main crew are like the real standout characters, but it is very much the typical setup here. There are multiple regions, each of them led by crazy lieutenants of the main bad guy. They're not really as like memorable or stand out as 5 sub-villains, but the world building is kind of cool with this whole pharmaceutical company element, and all that you venture your way across the different chunks of, conquering your way throughout and basically clearing the map and turning it towards the good guys. You know, there are of course enemy bases to take out, and once you wipe everyone out, you're of course treated with a cutscene of your people moving in other also anti-aircraft gun bases. While they're around you, you can't fly in certain vehicles, so blow them up and you're free. There are also road checkpoints to destroy and billboards and posters to deface and burn as well. Believe it or not, there's actually a nice on fire in this game. Every Far Cry game at this point now has like an obligatory sequence where you burn down a field of something. But the way it's done here, and the way it's set up in the plot is a little bit more interesting. It's not as crazy fire-driven as Far Cry 2, but it's worth pointing out. Oh, where was I? You're gathering resources to like improve your weapons and clothing and buy more and establish out your home base. The game features multiple, like home-based hub. You can walk around in third person. You can find stuff you can upgrade or swap your weapons here. You can get missions from characters. You can search for a co-opus partner. You can engage in sub-stuff. There's some mini-games, some of them surprisingly weird and fleshed out. I'll let you discover them for yourself, but you can also send dudes that you recruit out on missions to get more resources and stuff to spend. This is done through like a menu with like a success-failure percentage rate. You've probably seen this in other Ubisoft games. There's also an aspect of base building adapted from Far Cry New Dawn. It's a bit simplified, but you basically collect stuff to spend at one of the base camps to build new buildings, giving you different benefits. Like say, for example, build a food chef area and get access to the ability to make special food buffs to improve yourself temporarily. Like that kind of stuff. All the stuff I mentioned, you know, having a massive map filled with things to do endlessly, all these boxes to check off at your hubs. After playing every Far Cry game, I'm pretty tired of the same old stuff here. Some people don't like. Some folks can grind these games out for months and have a lot of fun. I did that for a lot of these games, but I'm over it now. Not all of the open world activities are dull. You know, I like the treasure hunts a lot, and a couple of Yada stories throw you in different situations. But I think he might have fun because what saved this one from like, just another open world, Ubisoft Far Cry fatigue is just the moment-to-moment fun. The action is a little crunchier, but the big story moments are a bit more interesting. It's always all a bit more chaotic, the new abilities, and the environment is cool. I love the return to a more tropical setting straight up. It feels like we're back where Far Cry truly belongs. There's a lot of great opportunities for high-flying stunts and fun boat chases and sneaky spots. 5 did a really good job at letting you stumble upon stuff. It was really special and it's not quite handled the same way. It's a little bit less moment-to-moment stumbling upon cool stuff or following a random trail to a secret, but where there is stuff here, it's really good. The game is actually filled with hidden guerrilla paths that take you off the main road that are really useful, and flying through them on horseback or a breakneck speed on a quad hitting some sweet jumps along the way just makes getting around on the way more fun than usual. Oh, and then there's the whole city section, which also feels very different for a Far Cry game. They don't typically get dense settings, so it's a nice change up only if it's kind of locked away for a bit. Now, gunplay in action, like I said, is a lot more fun because you have a ton of different tools, all types of throw balls and grenade types and gadgets to unlock. And some really good gun shooting still feels nice and raw and aggressive. And the game really has some solid weapon type, a lot of them, and you're going to be finding cool stuff all the time. They do have rarity levels and some have special stats or special abilities, but it doesn't turn into a looter shooter or just like a Borderlands gun fest. Like it's a bit more low-key and you're not always just gun hunting. It's just right. I found myself finding the right gun and sticking with it for a while, slowly tweaking upgrades here. There's a good amount of customization, and some of the guns you find are nuts, like a weird revolver with a shield fire pistol, a nail gun, homemade flamethrower. Couple this with the Supremos. These are backpack gadgets that have a limited use, and they can really change the tide of a fight. Like there's an AoE flame attack one, an EMP knockback one that just shoots a bunch of rockets. I'll be honest, it's kind of hard to beat, and a weird one that shoots out canisters of like the regime's poison gas, which I really liked. These attacks are on a meter that fills back up more quickly when you kill bad guys, so it can make for like really changing up the gameplay flow sometimes for a Far Cry game. Run here, headshots, throw a mile tab. The fire spreads and kills 3 other dudes. Shoot a cage that was holding a crocodile. It jumps out and needs a dude's face. Then you still need some more kills to fill that meter, so use your homemade nail gun to shoot another dude in the head. And then you launch your Supremo and shoot rockets and blow up a tank, and then do it all over again multiple times in one shootout, and it's satisfying. And of course you have very cool little animal sidekicks, like a killer or an awesome little dog named Chorizo. He's my favorite. The AI in this game though is like remarkably dumb. When you have to escort like a companion or like a rescued prisoner out of a certain situation, and there's a fight happening, God help you, it's a mess. The enemy AI is very awkward and sometimes easy to fool, but also like a lot of the other fire car games, they manage to be crack shots, so the game can be nice. And so with all this craziness, when it's good, it's good. Like Far Cry 6 does a good job of making it feel really fun and exciting moment to moment. Even if I might be tired of some of the loops, you know, the game as a whole feels like a mashup of some of the best Far Cry elements and a dash of Just Cause from the Revolution to just lots of aerial craziness. They give you a wingsuit, like almost at the start in this one, and vehicles overall just feel faster and a bit snappier. Now, 2 things I miss: hunting is still here, but it's not as deliberate as it used to be, and there aren't any cool kill or skin animations. There aren't skill trees this time around, which I really miss, like a lot of the abilities. The main abilities you just automatically have, and some other stuff is tied to the high level of clothing items. A lot of the clothing you equip gives you boosts and advantages, and it's a decent system. You find some cool stuff. A lot of it looks great and fits in with the world. And like with the guns, they really don't overdo. Like just the right amount of stuff they dole out for you. And even if some things are changed and I'm missing some things, some cool things are back, like the over-the-top stupid healing animations, like your character will chug some tequila or snap their fingers back into place, and then your health bar goes back up. They're like, why not? I love it. You really feel like a murder machine in this one, and with some good action, some good music and vibes, interesting characters, and some big main mission. I can forgive the fact that I'm a little tired of the Far Cry formula because they double down on the fun and crazy. I found myself like wanting to keep playing. Not to mention there's a nice photo mode, and of course co-opus, which is a welcome feature because I personally really enjoy exclusively playing that way. Longtime fans will be bummed, of course, if there is no map editor to this time around. But even without that, this game does just feel like true Far Cry. You know, like I said earlier, tropical chaos, explosions, fire. It reminds me of the old games, like a lot of recent Ubisoft games for me. Like, you'll know if you watched my Before You Buy, there's a lot of good and bad in here for me personally. But with Far Cry 6 specifically, I'm leaning towards good. It's pretty fun. It's also really gorgeous. I will say on Xbox, the cutscenes look kind of rough. They are not very good. The characters look not so great. I've had some frame rates, stuttering, and just overall, not impressive. But when you're in game and you're looking at a sunset or the horizon line and the color palette of the ocean and the trees, it's top-notch stuff. But anyway, that's before you buy, you know how this goes by now. I'll give you some pros, some cons, and some personal opinion. And now I want to hear yours down in the comments. So if you're just jumping in, I'd love to hear your first impressions. If you've been vibing with it, let me know if you're sick of Far Cry games. Let me know also while you're here. Definitely, let me know what your favorite Far Cry game is. I think that could be fun. But anyway, hopefully this helped you out. Hopefully we informed you a bit. If we did help, click into like buttons. All you gotta do, it really helps us, and we would very much appreciate it. Keep your eyes peeled. We've got a bunch more before you buy is coming. If you have anything else from me, you hit me up on Twitter and Instagram at Pilot36000. Thank you guys for watching. We will see you next time.